Welcome. In this lesson, we are going to be creating a customized sheet formula, and this sheet formula is going to be called above average threshold. So it's going to be taking in two parameters, which is going to be, the first one is going to be a range. The second one is going to be just a single value, which is going to be used as the threshold value. And when we're looking at this, so the current range here is A1 to A3, and then we've got a value of B1, which is going to be the threshold value. So when we look at the formula here, we've got 7, 6, and 15. So those are being averaged and calculated together, and any values that are below the threshold, they're not going to be included within the sum. So let's update this and set that to be a value of 9. So then it's going to exclude the 7 and 6 and return back the average for 15. And what we're doing is we're returning back an average, so we're just dividing it by count and saving that. So it's returning back, and it's going to update these values that we have here in the output of cell number C. So here we're using a range of A2 to A4. So that's going 6, 15, and 11. It's averaging those out and then returning that. So it's only taking into consideration the values that are above 9 within this formula. And the same thing for the third cell here within column number C. It's taking that average and outputting the value. So if we update and change the threshold, that's also going to affect the values that are being output in column C.
Welcome. In this example, we're going to be creating a custom formula that calculates the average of a range of numbers, excluding any of the values that are within the specified threshold. So we're going to be starting out by creating a spreadsheet, adding in some data. So column A is going to contain the range of numbers, and then we can specify which values we want to include within the range. And then column B will be the threshold, and we'll be outputting the results in column C. So we're going to be creating a formula that's going to be able to be used within spreadsheets, and this can be done with Google Apps Script.
So open up your Google spreadsheet. You can also create a brand new sheet going into your Drive, logging into your Google account, and then setting up and selecting to create a spreadsheet. This is going to be within a bound script. So this is where we're going to be creating a script that's going to be contained within the sheet. So open up the sheet, give it a name, add in some values within column A, add in a value in column B, and then open up under extensions, the apps script editor, and this is going to be where we're going to be writing the script. So clear the content within the apps script editor and create a brand new function. We're going to be calling this function average underscore above threshold. And it's going to be taking in the two values. So that's going to be the range and also the threshold value. So the two parameters are going to be added into this formula, and we're going to be making the calculation of the formula. So this formula is going to have a default value that we're going to call sum. We're going to add values into it so we can sum up the total that we have within the range. And then also we're going to have another value that's going to be called count, and that's going to increment to let us know how many items are within the range. So we'll set that by default to 0. And then using a for loop, we're going to loop through starting at the value of 0 while the value of I is less than the range length. Range length is going to be a value that's going to be sent in to the function within the range. So range is going to hold a value, it's going to be the length there. So we're taking that value and we're continuing the loop through until we reach the end of the items within the range. And then as we're looping through all of the items within the range, we're going to selecting them using the range with its index value. And we're selecting just the first item within the range. So that's going to be the index value of 0, and checking to see if it's equal to or larger than the threshold value that we've set out. And that's going to be the value that was passed into the parameters. Using the value of sum, we're going to add to the value of sum whatever we've got within the cell contained within the range. So once again, referencing it using the index value of I as we're looping through, and that will increment as we continue the loop. And then updating the value of count incrementing that by 1 also. So that's going to return back a value for sum and then also for count. So let's set that, and for now what we'll do is we'll return back the value that we've got for sum. So this is going to be the formula so far when we're using the average above threshold, and we're going to have a sum value, and that's going to be just the total value of the items within the range. We're ready to use the custom function, so grab that function by the name, and then when you want to use it, or whatever cell you want to use it in, go to the spreadsheet formula bar, press the equal sign, enter in the formula name, and then we've got the parameters there that we need to fill in now. So selecting the range that we want to use, so I'm going to use the range from A1 to A3. And for the threshold, the value that I'm going to use is going to be the value within B. And then once you're ready, just press the equal sign. And so that's going to be returning back the average right now. And we can output that in a few other columns as well. So here it's taking the value of A1 to A4, so it's taking that as the sum value. So adding up 10, 15, 20 together and returning back 45, and there it's returning back 43. So we can also add in a condition here, and just to make sure that we've got a value that's over count. And if we do, then we can then return back the sum. And if we don't, then what we'll do is we'll output a value. We're going to return back a string value. That's just going to say that there's no values. So that will output the string value in the cell if we don't have any values within the count. So if there's no items within the range, then we just return back the value of no values. So let's take a closer look at what we've got for the threshold. So we're customizing and creating an average. So when we're using the cell values, the range from A1 to A3, we've got 7, 10, and 15. And because it's below the threshold, 7, we're only using 10 and 15. So let's update and adjust the threshold. So set it to 4. And we can see that that also affects the values that we've got there. So let's say, for instance, if one of these values was a 6, and then we update this to be 12 or something, then we see that it's updating those values. And I'll make some adjustments to these ones as well, so that they're also updating the formula. So you can see that once you update the threshold, it's going to update all of the values that we're using. And that's also when it's equal to, so it's outputting those values. So right now it's only considering 15. If we do a 16, then it's going to return back that there's no values that are above the threshold. And actually, let's clarify that as well. So this is how you can create a custom formula that you can use within your spreadsheets, and then you can customize the conditions as needed in order to turn back the results. And then making any of the adjustments here, you can see that it's also going to affect the output. So that's the formula there. That's the range is the first value that's there, and the second value is going to be the threshold value. So go ahead and try it out for yourself, and you can also add some additional customizations to the formula as needed.